In today's video, we're going to be recapping the New York Jets at the Washington Redskins. What's going on, guys? I'm Matt O'Leary, back with another video. Before we get started on the Washington Redskins and New York Jets preseason game from Week 2, I just want to remind you that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You could also buy some New York sports merch that I'm selling. I'll link that down below. We got Jet stuff. We got anything your little heart desires, so you could check that out as well. Now, as for the game last night, we're going to start with the offense and then work towards the defense. So, Sam Darnold got the start like I predicted was going to happen. And he played the entire first half, and he was okay. His first start was obviously much more impressive, but we'll get to why I don't even know if I want to use the word struggled, but why he didn't perform like he did in Week 1. He was 8 for 11 with 62 yards and 1 interception. The main reason for this was the offensive line. They just looked flat out bad. Calvin Beachum obviously wasn't playing. They're missing some other guys as well, and it was obvious. They got pressure right away. On the first play of the game, Sam Darnold dunked it off for a little 1-yard gain. Then on the very next play, he almost took a sack, but instead he somehow escaped and threw it away. It was probably a smart play. And then on third down, ended up taking a sack, and he did take one more sack on third down also. So 2 sacks on Sam Darnold in the first half, and you could tell that offensive line looks like it's going to be an issue, especially with the injuries. They really have a lack of depth, and that's scary because they only really took one offensive lineman in the last few years in the NFL draft. And that's something Mike Maccagnan should be addressing on a regular basis, but he's neglected it since he's been here, and usually your late-round draft picks or mid to late-round draft picks are your depth, and right now the Jets don't have any. And a lot of the guys the Jets did draft are struggling. Peak played well yesterday, but Jerome Peak, Ardarius Stewart, Chad Hansen, Lorenzo Malden, these guys you're getting virtually nothing out of at this point. Not a good look for some of Maccagnan's draft picks, and we'll get into more of that in just a little bit. One thing that I didn't like, though, they didn't take any shots down the field with either really Darnold or Bridgewater. On Bridgewater's interception, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they took a little bit of a shot. It was maybe like 20, 30 yards down the field on the left sideline, but still it wasn't anything big to back the defense off, and I think that's why their offense struggled a little bit also. They took no shots down the field, like I said, with Sam Darnold. It was all little dink and dunk stuff, which was fine. That's why his completion percentage was so high, and he was effective at finding the open man. But for me, I would like to see him try and work on that deep ball and try and push the ball 15, 25 yards down the field. You have Robbie Anderson, one of the best young deep ball threats in the entire league. Didn't get any shots down the field. He had 1 catch for 4 yards. Yes, he is better at route running now than he was in his rookie year when he was pretty much just a deep burner threat, but you got to use him for his strengths, and I would like to see him take a shot down the field. Trey McBride, I thought, looked really good. There was a couple third down completions Sam Darnold had to him, and if you look at this first one, that was probably my favorite throw from Sam Darnold on the entire night. It was a great play on third down. He got like 15 yards on it. Very smart read, and he didn't make any terrible mistakes. Yes, he threw an interception, but it was on 4th and 1. It wasn't anything that the Jets would have done during the regular season. They would have just kicked the field goal because they were in field goal range. But on 4th down, he was trying to force something. It got tipped up in the air and picked off. I could live with that. It wasn't necessarily an awful read. It wasn't like a first down play or anything like that. On 4th down, you're allowed to try and force the ball into tight windows. And unfortunately, it bit him in the butt. So that's going to happen. But I was okay with Darnold's performance. It wasn't as good as last week. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful either. He was okay. As for Teddy Bridgewater, he was pretty good again. 10 of 15, a buck 27, 1 TD, 1 interception. He hit Peak twice on the scoring drive, and this touchdown pass was a really nice throw to stay in there, stay in the pocket, and then also a beautiful catch from Peak too, who has done virtually nothing up until this point. Very quiet. You would thought maybe someone who's not going to make the team coming out of camp, but maybe he saved himself with last night's performance. We'll have to see going into Week 3, but for me, Teddy Bridgewater looked the better out of the two, and that's okay. You are still showcasing Teddy Bridgewater because the overall goal, you want Darnold to start in Week 1, and you want to be able to trade Teddy Bridgewater. Guys or teams that could potentially need a quarterback. Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and now maybe Philadelphia with Carson Wentz's injury. You don't want to rush him back, and Nick Foles went down last night, so maybe the Eagles would be in the market for a quarterback. If you can get a third rounder for Teddy Bridgewater, I'm on board with that. Pull the trigger any day of the week. Again, he was pretty good, like I said. The interception was, he was trying to work the left sideline, go a little bit deep. That's probably his one bad throw in the evening. Other than that, like offensively, the running backs did absolutely nothing. And again, I'm going to put that more on the offensive line. Atkinson was the leading rusher with 31 yards. And they had 64 all game long, which in the regular season, that can't fly. I know that it's a part of the game they struggled in last year, but it's something they definitely have to work on. And my biggest takeaway offense is offensive line wasn't good at all. That does scare me going a little bit forward. On the defensive side of the ball, they got torched by the Redskins defense. All three of their quarterbacks marched down the field. And yeah, I know they kept them out of the end zone, but still, Darren Lee didn't look that good. Alex Smith with ease went right down the field. Colt McCoy looked good again in the preseason. He's a pretty solid backup to have, but no one really stood out to me on the defensive side of the ball. Lee looked really bad. Jenkins got some pressure, even he got a sack. I did not agree with that penalty early on in the roughing the passer call from Jordan Jenkins, but that's the way the new NFL is going, and the new rules are trying to enforce it in the preseason so guys get used to it, but I didn't agree with it whatsoever. What is he supposed to do at that point? Just stop himself? Doesn't make any sense. And Doug Middleton ended up getting the interception on the tip drill, so the Jets did create a turnover. Overall, I know it is a 15-13 final. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was one of the more boring football games I probably watched in a long time. But as we're trying to see just progression, you didn't really see a whole lot. And I'm going to blame a lot of it on the offensive line and a little bit on the play calling. What I'm looking forward to is week 3. They always play the Giants in week 3 of the preseason, and that's when the starters play the most. I think Sam Darnold starts again when I'm going to preview that in about a week. I think he plays the first 3 quarters, and then you go right to Teddy Bridgewater again, if he's still on the team, which I'm assuming he is going to be. But other than that, we'll have to see at this point. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you agree, comment below. Please subscribe. Follow me on social media once more. I'm Matt O'Leary, at Matt O'Leary NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll talk to you next time.